I have another Bloody Mary story time. The person who submitted this wishes to remain anonymous, so we're gonna call her Kelly. When Kelly was about 13 years old, she was spending the night at her friend's house. At this sleepover, it was just her friend and her friend's older sister, who was about 17 years old at the time. All three girls were going to pretty much be home alone until about 10 p.m. when the parents got home, so they decided that they wanted to bring out the Ouija board and start to play because they got bored. Now, mind you, her friend's home was known to be haunted, so they were hoping for something crazy to happen once they started to play with the Ouija board. After some time goes by and they continue to play, they realize that nothing is really happening, so they decide to put the board aside and amp it up some more and go and try to summon Bloody Mary. They set up a camera in the bathroom, light up a candle, look in the mirror, and say her name 3 times. The minute they did this, they heard a loud crash. All 3 girls ran from out of the bathroom into the living room, scared. Once they got to the living room, they realized that the bedroom light was on, when all 3 girls know for a fact that that light had been shut off. At this point, they decided to just hang out in the living room until the parents get home because that whole scenario really freaked them out. Once the parents got home, everything seemed okay until that night. They all ended up going to bed at around midnight. Soon after Kelly fell asleep, she got woken up by a loud bang coming from outside the window. She opens her eyes and sees a woman standing in the window with long black hair staring into the bedroom right at her. She starts to freak out thinking there's no way this is real. I must be imagining on this. Like, this can't be real life. So she starts to wake up her friends. The minute her friends wake up, they all jump up and look out of the window, but this woman is no longer there. They all end up falling asleep right after this. Soon after, Kelly gets woken up now a second time by scratching that's coming from inside the closet. At this point, she's had enough and decides that she needs to call her mom for her to pick her up because she cannot spend the night there. From that point forward, anytime she goes and spends some time at her friend's house, she has some type of experience. She hears a noise, she hears scratching, but thankfully, whatever it is, does not ever follow her when she goes home.
What is the scariest thing you can think of happening while camping? This story comes straight from the heart of Appalachia. And if you love scary camping stories, this week's episode is probably the scariest camping story I've ever heard. So the story goes that in the Great Smoky Mountains, a scout leader was taking a bunch of Boy Scouts up into the mountains for the weekend. And they were deep in the mountains. The nearest road was supposedly 6 miles away. So that night, all of the campers go to sleep except for the scoutmaster. He wanted to stay up and read, but also he was getting this weird feeling that something was watching them. So he's laying awake in his hammock when all of a sudden he hears rustling. It's like too small to be a bear, but way bigger than a squirrel. And then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, this man just walks out of the woods. It's the dead of night and he has no gear and no flashlight. And he just sits at the edge of their camp watching the tents. The scoutmaster's laying in his hammock trying to not move a muscle, and he ends up laying there for 3 hours. And all the while, he's thinking about how he was just reading about feral people living in the Smoky Mountains. Eventually, the guy gets up, stares at the camp for a few more minutes, and turns around and leaves. The scoutmaster makes everyone leave that next day, but he keeps getting the feeling that someone's watching him the whole rest of the weekend. I have a bunch of episodes that have different scary camping stories, so check them out.
What's going on here? Investigators say they're still working to figure out why and how Carly Russell went missing for 2 days before reappearing on her parents' doorstep Saturday night in Alabama. Carly Russell, a 25-year-old nursing student, made national headlines when she disappeared under strange circumstances on July 13th. She called 911, telling a dispatcher that she stopped along the interstate on her way home from work after seeing a toddler walking by himself in a diaper along the highway. When police arrived, they found Carly's car still running with her belongings inside, but Carly was nowhere to be found. And a nationwide panic began. Investigators and searchers combed the area, searching for her for more than 48 hours across the state. Everyone hoping and praying for her safe return. Crime Stoppers Alabama had offered a $60,000 reward for her return. She then reappeared, back at her parents' house in Hoover, Alabama on Saturday night. Hoover police said they spoke to Carly, but won't share any information about the interview, but added they will talk to her again and attempt to better understand her movements during the time she was missing. But added, "We don't have to move quickly. Our priority was to get her home, and she's home." Now, the child that Carly said she saw unattended has never been found or identified, but police said there were no children reported missing during that time. Carly's family has asked for privacy, but many want to know what happened. Is the public in danger? Is there a kidnapper on the loose? And what about the child that Carly said she saw?
Where's the kidnapper? And what happened to the kid?
This story has been all over the place. I gotta know, what are your thoughts?
So my mom had an encounter with a lechuza. And can I just add that she does not live in the middle of nowhere? She lives like 2 minutes away from me. Story time. So this happened this past weekend. All of Saturday, my mom spent outside in her yard, cleaning up her yard, fixing up her yard. She likes to garden and do all that stuff. So she was literally out there all day. At about 7 p.m., she decided to go inside the house and sit in the living room. When you sit in the living room, you look right out into the yard. So she's sitting there watching TV. She can hear the birds chirping and all of nature sounds. When out of nowhere, she sees all of the birds just fly off. Like I said, they're scared. And it's just complete silence, like eerily silent in her yard. She then starts to hear the voices. She says either 2 or 3 females. She hears them talking and they're like, ha 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 ha, like laughing, and they're like talking amongst themselves, being really, really loud. And my mom's like, who the heck is in my yard? Mind you, my mom's yard has like really high fences all around and you can't get in there. Like you can't just walk in there. These 3 ladies sounded that they were like right in her yard, just being really, really loud and obnoxious and laughing and like joking with each other. My mom decided to get up and look. Mind you, my mom's very intuitive, so as she got up to look, something told her to stop, like don't look, like don't go any further. They then start to make like these loud like duck noises or just bird noises, but they sound like a human is making these noises, and it's almost like they're mocking her and they're like laughing, and it's just whatever is going on. My mom's like, she wants no part of it, so she decides that she's gonna shut her door. Mind you, the whole time her freaking screen door, her sliding glass door is open, so she shuts it and locks it and shuts the curtain, and she just kind of stays inside the house and starts to pray. After some time, she then hears these things just kind of like disappear. She no longer hears them, and then it was almost like nature came back, like it turned back on, and she started to hear like the birds chirping and like everything else, like nothing ever happened. I also forgot to add that she has a giant tree right outside of her bedroom window. She said that that's where you can hear them the most, right outside her bedroom window, so she believes these lechuzas were just hanging out on that giant tree like right outside her bedroom window.
The Simpsons have done it again. It seems like they predicted the downfall of the Titan. The Titan is the name of this vessel that was going to go down to the ruins of the Titanic to explore it. There were 5 passengers on board the Titan, and 2 hours after their descent, they lost communication. The vessel was missing, and this morning it was declared that they had run out of oxygen and they have been declared dead. In season 17 of The Simpsons, Homer travels down to go find some treasure. When they reach the bottom of the ocean, they find a shipwreck broken in half just like the Titanic. And then their oxygen levels get really low. So people are thinking that The Simpsons predicted the downfall of the Titan. Not only that, but Simpsons writer Mike Rios also was aboard the Titan at one point. But this was after the episode aired, so it's not like it influenced it. Everything is just really freaky. I'm explaining it more on my YouTube channel, so make sure you check it out. Link in bio. It's going live soon.
3 lost treasures, still waiting to be found. The Oak Island money pit off the shores of Nova Scotia on Oak Island Day to be lost pirate treasures. Since the 19th century, explorers have tried to locate the loot, and some interesting artifacts have been unearthed, but the main treasure has never been found. The treasures Lima removed from Lima, Peru in 1820 said to include a life-sized, solid gold statue of the Virgin Mary, as well as hundreds of jewels and gold bars. Hundreds of treasure hunters have traveled to Cocos Island and tried to find the treasure of Lima. The copper scroll treasure found in 1952 at Khirbet Qumran on the shores of the Dead Sea. The scroll was a treasure map telling of old-told wealth waiting to be found. Scholars have identified 63 separate entries on the copper scroll that describe the location of what is estimated to be more than 160 tons of hidden gold and silver.
This is a sad update for the Titan submersible that went to explore the ruins of the Titanic. If you don't know, this vessel carrying 5 passengers went down to explore the Titanic. An hour after descent, it lost communication. It has finally run out of oxygen. And the US Coast Guard just confirmed the passing of the 5 passengers. If you want to know more about it, like some scary theories as to what happened, and learn, the safety features, why it wasn't actually safe, and everything all like that, then you have to check out this video. I just posted it, link in bio. It'll explain everything.